Now, today is nicknamed Blue Monday. The third Monday in January is meant to be the most depressing day of the year. But is that actually really true, or is it just a clever PR stunt to encourage people to buy holidays or splash out on things to cheer them up? Give us a call and tell us what you think. How are you feeling? The number is 0207 862 2222. I'm joined by Dr. Philippa, Kaye, who's going to be telling us all about it. But we'll start with you two. Rebecca, do you get sort of the January blues or this sort of Blue Monday? Do you get it?
Not really. I have a toddler, so January is when childcare restarts. So my Christmas is the first week of January when I can be suddenly at home again with a bit of peace and quiet. But I've always liked January. I like the kind of, new notebook, maybe going back to the gym, trying to look after yourself, eat some more vegetables. I like the fresh start of it. And after Christmas, I was definitely ready to not have a drink for a couple of days.
Lynn?
I just think it's society putting pressure on us to feel like certain things are sad. If we keep on hearing these things,
right.
It's so depressing.
Sort of self-perpetuating myth.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's the same with, New Year's. Oh, I didn't do well this year. Hopefully next year I'm not where I want to be in life, And especially if people set these high targets for themselves in the first, let's say, day of January, and they haven't even kickstart the gym, you can feel a bit deflated already. So I think we need to stop looking at society's pressures and see where we are individually.
Okay. Well, Doctor, where did this all begin? Is there such a thing as sort of this sort of sadness that befalls us all on the third Monday of the brand new year?
No.
Right.
So it was actually coined by a psychologist and part of a travel company, and they created a really complicated formula, and sometimes people can get blinded by, oh, that looks like a lot of maths, but there's all letters, and and that's all very complicated, therefore it must be correct. And even the person who came up with it has said since then that it seems to be a little bit meaningless.
So it was sort of a marketing ploy, really, where we alluded to there. And today we can see on the front page of the Daily Star, here's sort of an example of it. It's quite easy to see. Look, holiday firms set for a huge increase. You're feeling a bit blue, get your checkbook out, start booking your holidays. Of course, lots of people who can afford to go for some winter sun are now posting pictures of themselves going, look how nice it is after Christmas.
Unfollow those people, because nobody
just stop following
right now.
The truth is that we all have mental health all the time.
Yeah.
And some days it is good and some days it is bad. And we don't need a particular date in the calendar to tell us how we're feeling. We're feeling however we're feeling, and however we're feeling is valid. And it is true that people are affected by the weather, people are affected by seasonal affective disorder, which we're coming up to, people are affected by the social circumstances and debt after Christmas and maybe not sticking to their New Year's resolution. There are lots of things involved, but it isn't that on a particular day you have to feel bad. You feel how you feel, whatever the day is. Okay,
so you mentioned it there, the seasonal affective disorder, the acronym being SAD. What is that about?
Seasonal affective disorder is a particular type of depression that is cyclical, and that it tends to happen during the colder winter months. Some people will get it the other way around, but generally it's the colder months. And it has some of the same symptoms of depression, so feeling very low, flat, hopeless, lots of negative thinking. But some of the symptoms can differ. So in depression, often you have trouble getting to sleep. Some people will sleep more, but often trouble staying asleep, troubles with insomnia. And people with seasonal affective disorder will sleep all the time and find it very difficult to get up in the morning. Oh. Having depression often affects your appetite. It might make you eat less. Some people it will make them eat more, but some people will lose their appetites. And in seasonal affective disorder, you eat more, you particularly crave carbohydrates, and you might gain weight. And what we see is that it gets worse in the winter and better in the springtime. And after that happens for a period of time, and we see that cyclical pattern, you might be diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder. And we're not exactly sure what's going on, but we think it's to do with the body's natural circadian rhythms and the lack of exposure to sunlight affecting the transmitters in your brain like melatonin, which affect sleep, and serotonin, which makes you feel good.
Okay, look, some people are getting in touch on social media. Donald on Twitter says, Monday is Blues Day anyway, as it's traditionally been that time when you go back to work and do that job you don't particularly like. Well, I'm sorry about that, Donald. Paul on Twitter says, Blue Monday makes sense, actually. January's always tight for people's finances after Christmas, especially those with children. that's sort of interesting, isn't it? How much of an effect does the sort of post-Christmas psychology play into this? You've just been all together, you've been off work, and then this sort of dark mornings, not a lot of sunlight around, back to work. If you're unlucky enough not to like your work, then does that all come into play then?
So your living factors, your living situation, the environment, all impact on our mental health. There are lots of things, everything from genetics to, a worldwide pandemic. They all affect our mental health, and for different people it will be different. But I think that the idea of setting ourselves up for this is the day where we all must feel bad isn't right, because people will feel good or bad on different days.
Okay, well, we'd like to hear from you. If you suffer from sad symptoms, do get in touch. 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need. How have you been effective? How have you dealt with it so far? Do give us a call, let us know. Do either of you sort of see and I can empathise or identify with any of the things that we're talking
definitely
about?
what you were saying, we don't know exactly, but there's a connection of lack of vitamin D. And I know the area that I lived in, Haringey, there was a high level of submissions into Mental Health Institute where people that were of a darker hue with more melanin struggled in the winter because the vitamin D found it harder to penetrate people of darker skin. So my mother and myself, we got one of those lights, and it did actually improve during the months, because traditionally we're supposed to be originally in sunnier climates. So I know that is a thing for people with olive skin and darker skin.
Just
sometimes.
to be clear, we're talking about melatonin,
Yeah.
not melanin.
No, I mean for the darker skin, we need the vitamin D.
So vitamin D has an impact on all kinds of things, but there isn't the research to suggest that it is linked with seasonal affective disorder. But everybody out there needs to be taking a vitamin D supplement now. The NHS recommends from the end of September, beginning of October, all the way to the end of March. And vitamin D has an impact on your immune system and your bones. And you're right that people with darker skin or people who are inside the whole time, who are housebound, maybe live in a care home, should be taking a supplement the whole year round.
Any advice on the strength of that supplement? Because they can vary and get quite complicated, not as simple as picking up yourself a sort of a vitamin C supplement, because they come with... and I have heard, and I don't know if it's true, but that you can take too much vitamin D.
You can take too much and too little of anything.
Of everything, right.
The dose is the poison. The dose makes the poison, I think, is the phrase, because too much water can be harmful. So the average adult should be taking 400 international units of vitamin D a day, but for other people, it might be different.
Right.
And so I would always recommend that you go and speak to your local pharmacist about what is right for you in your particular circumstances.
I was really surprised to find out that children and babies were supposed to as well. And you can get drops, am I right in thinking? But so even with babies, you should be doing it?
Even with babies who are taking formula, the formula is generally fortified. But if you are breastfeeding your baby solely, then we recommend that you give your babies drops.
Okay, now I like a gadget, and we've actually got one of these at home, not that I use it as much, but what about these lamps, as they're called, the SAD lamps? When this turns on, it sort of becomes like a very, very bright lamp. We're not going to blind everyone by turning it on right now, but what do these do?
So we're not exactly sure that they definitely work for everybody, but they seem to work for some people, and they're not going to cause any problems. They are trying to simulate sun without the UV, without the ultraviolet light. And we need to have strong enough lux, at least 2,500 lux, up to about 10,000 lux, and the stronger the light, the shorter the amount of time you sit in front of it. But essentially, we want to do it in the morning for up to about 30 minutes to simulate that exposure to natural light. So when you're having your breakfast, you put it on next to you so that you're getting that light on your face, with the idea of setting your circadian, your internal body clock, and helping with those neurotransmitters in the brain. And some people find them really effective.
Okay, and they're not that pricey. You can get them in all sorts of different sizes, easy to use, easy to plug in. So that's a gadget that you can use to help you get over that lack of sunshine. Philippa, you've got some tips to help people if they're experiencing the sad effects that we talked about.
I think that everybody needs to have a mental health toolkit. The things that we do to protect our mental health, because we all have good days and we all have bad days, and that's part of being human. So it's really important that We exercise, we move our bodies. Ideally, exercise outside, get out in that light, even if it isn't bright blue skies, but there is still some light. Do it with a pet, do it with other people so that you get the benefits of being exposed, to people and the social interactions. And it doesn't matter what exercise you're doing, if you want to do a YouTube workout or go to the gym. So move your body. Avoid things like alcohol, which is a sedative, it is a depressant, it sort of does bring you down. Avoid covering up your symptoms with other drugs. Keep talking. And for seasonal affective disorder, if the lights aren't enough for you, we will use traditional antidepressant type medications as well as talking therapies. But what we're going to do is talk through some breathing techniques and mindfulness techniques.
OK, before we get to those, I know that Vicky has got in touch in London and she wants to ask us a question. Good afternoon, Vicky. What would you like to ask?
I'd just like to know if, because I was under the impression that you had to take calcium along with vitamin D for it to be effective, and how much calcium would you need to balance out 400 milligrams of, I think it's milligrams of vitamin D?
So calcium is not something which is routinely recommended. If you are a woman who has had the menopause, it might be something that is recommended with vitamin D to protect your bones. But for the average person who doesn't have any underlying health conditions, we wouldn't be recommending a calcium supplement alongside that vitamin D, because too much calcium can actually be very dangerous. So for most people, when we're talking about solely vitamin D supplementation, you don't need that calcium as well, unless your doctor has advised you otherwise for another reason.
OK, Vicky.
Okay.
Vicky, thank you for your question. Remember, if you do have a question, pick up the phone. 0207 862 2222 is the number that you need. Let's get on to some of these breathing exercises that you would like to recommend.
So what we're trying to do is ground ourselves in the moment, into our bodies, and turn the racing thoughts in our head off. And some of them are really easy. The first one is the box breathing technique. So we're going to draw a box with our hand, and we're going to inhale for a slow count of 4. We're going to hold our breath for a slow count of 4.
Do doing it. You better be.
We're going to exhale for a count of 4. And we're going to hold our breath for a slow count of 4.
Do doing it. You better be.
We're going to exhale for a count of 4. And we're going to hold our breath for a count of 4. And as we repeat, that's just going to slow our breathing down and give us something to focus on. Another really easy breathing technique is to use the finger of one hand on the other hand, and you're going to breathe in as you go up one finger, and you're going to breathe out as you go down the other finger. And what you're doing is that you're giving your body a little bit of stimulation and something to focus on by moving your finger, but you're also slowing that breathing down. And one last one quickly is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, which is a mindfulness technique. And you just slow your breathing and think, what are 5 things that I can see right now? What are 4 things that I can touch? And that might be my feet on the floor, my bottom on the chair. 3 things that I can hear. 2 things that I can smell, and something I can even taste, which it might be, your morning toothpaste or your coffee or whatever it might be. And what that does is that it just gets you into your body and out of your head.
Lynn, tempted to use some of these techniques?
I definitely think the first and second one would help. I think also you can get to a point of feeling you're in despair or nothing is going to work. And I think if you just take a deep breath and do the things that you suggested, I think that can help you regulate instead of panicking about life.
Yeah. Rebecca?
Absolutely. I think it's just important to recognise when breathing and sort of home remedies work and when you actually do need intervention, and remembering there's no stigma that you might need a brief stint on antidepressants, you might need a longer stint, you might need talking therapy. Personally, I've been in therapy for years and I love it. It's expensive, but it's the best thing I spend money on. So I do think the breathing is great, but maybe sometimes just if it's not working, do go to somebody for more help than just breathing.
Absolutely. The ability to ask for help is the action of doing that is often the hardest part of getting better, and it's hugely important. And for anybody out there who is really struggling, first of all, remember that the Samaritans are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can call 116 123, and it is a free phone number. The charity Mind also has a helpline, and that number is 0300 123 3393. There are lots of good websites out there, the NHS website, the Every Mind Matters website. There's always your GP. If you're really struggling right now and it is a psychiatric emergency, there is A&E. So please, please, please ask for help.
Let's look at some more messages that people have been getting in touch. Janet on Facebook says, it is more to do with feeling poorer after the holidays not being paid until the end of the month. And January itself seems to go on and on. June on Facebook says, beautiful day today. I think the weather dictates our moods. I'm feeling optimistic at the moment. How much does the weather actually play in people's mental states?
It definitely does. And when it is warmer and lighter, people are more likely to do the things that make them feel good, be that socialising or going out, and moving your body or going for a walk. But, you have to put your coat on and your umbrella up and go for that walk anyway.
I mean, I have to say, I'm sort of thankful and also lucky enough to have a dog. And sometimes you look outside and you go, I really don't want to go outside. But they make you go, and every time I've come back from a dog walk, whatever the weather, I've felt better for it.
So
just
I can't have a dog because I'm not responsible enough and I have a toddler, but I have a pretend dog. So every day I have to walk my fictional dog, and I do have a commitment that I take. My mum actually got me
What's his name?
Mini dog. She's called Minnie, and it sounds absolutely unhinged, but it really helped because I got I work from home. I will stay at home.
Great.
I love being cosy, but yeah, I go and walk the fictional dog, and it makes me feel a lot better.
Great.
So I recommend you adopt a fictional dog.
Adopt a fictional dog. Let's take one quick call from Susan, who's called from Lincolnshire. Susan, what would you like to ask?
No, it's not just so much ask. It's when your people are talking, will they also take into account an elderly lady lives on her own in the middle of nowhere? The two neighbours she's got are workers. How do I function like they're saying? I'm too old to move.
Right.
And basically, can you just take into account people like myself, not just me, but lots of us?
Older people. People perhaps who are not able to sort of get out and do the exercise and walk.
So there's always
and live on their own.
And live on their own. Thank you, Susan.
So definitely living on your own can really impact on your mental health, absolutely. But there's always some kind of movement that you can do. And I'm not saying that movement is the cure for all mental health conditions. We're just talking about things that you can do to help yourself. And it might be a YouTube body coach workout for older people that's in the chair, and there are lots of things available because we know that it is good for you physically and mentally, irrespective of how old you are, and it is never too old to start.
Okay. Look, thank you all for your messages.